She lived just over the Cavan border, close to Smyth's Abbey. At the same time in Belfast, a 21-year-old woman attempted suicide. It was her evidence that had begun the police investigation into Smyth. She was one of Seamus's 4 children, all of whom were abused by Smyth in the 1980s.
He was a man, a cardinal, knew about it and did nothing, and did nothing, and did nothing. Brought children in for a note of silence. My daughter was 3. Could have been avoided.
Mary wasn't even born in 1975. She was 12 when Father Smyth first came into her life in the spring of 1993.
He became familiar with the parents. It wasn't unusual for him to knock when he was around or in the area that we lived in and visited next door. He would come in. He'd have a chat with my parents.
At the time, Mary and her family remained blissfully unaware that Father Smyth was on the run from police in the north, or that arrest warrants had arrived in Dublin but were never executed.
He'd been hiding out in the Republic of Ireland when he come into contact with me. And hiding out in the Abbey. Hiding out on, you know, in a sort of God house, if you like. A priest's house, a religious place.
Brendan Smyth had officiated at Seamus and his wife Bernie's marriage, and now in desperation they wanted the church to deal with Smyth. To them, no one cared, not even Cardinal Cahill. He was not taking their calls. But one day, a Monsignor Colin McCracken answered the phone in Daly's office. He seemed sympathetic.
I just briefly threw the whole thing out to him, how we felt. That the police were looking for him. He was down south. We didn't know where he was. We're trying to get him up to answer these charges, trying to get peace of mind. So he promised to get back to me.
So while the full betrayal of trust was being felt in Belfast, over the border the grooming methods of the devious Father Smyth were paying dividends.
Got the regular pat on the leg, or if he would, you know, sort of make you laugh, or say something funny, or. But nothing until December 1993.
Silent night, holy night.
Down south, Mary's mum was expecting a child, so for Mary that meant extra duties.
Because I was the older out of all the kids. So I helped out with Christmas and stuff, and obviously with my mum being pregnant, helped a bit more and put the tree up, decorations on it, get involved with the buying of the presents, pick what you wanted, and you know, and then Father Christmas was bringing it for you, that sort of thing.
At that stage, did you still believe in Father Christmas?
Yes and no. No, but you had to get your presents.
Christmas in 1993. Obviously we were trying to enjoy Christmas. We bought the kids presents, we were getting our own presents. Just normal Christmas in a family until my daughter overdosed and was taken into hospital, and Christmas, I suppose, was put on hold while we visited her and talked to doctors and tried to figure out what the hell's going on.
Father Brendan Smyth had lost interest in Susan. She was now 21. But as she lay in a Belfast hospital in 1993 because horrific memories of Smyth controlled her life, Brendan Smyth was busy destroying another life south of the border.
It was before the Christmas Eve that he came, and it was dark outside, and he knocked at the door. It was unusual because it was later. It was going on for 9 o'clock at night. And I said my mother and father were across the road in my cousin's house, and they'd be back in a bit. He said it's okay. He wanted to come in and just have a chat with me, see if there was anything I'd like for Christmas, and I didn't see the harm to let him in.
While Smyth was busy down south at Mary's house, up in Belfast, Bernie and Seamus got what they regarded as good news from Monsignor McCracken.
The phone call absolutely got my blood pressure sky high. the fact that this is coming to an end. He's going to be brought up, he's going to go to court.
I let him in and he came into the kitchen and was sat on the sofa. It was a black sofa, and this TV was on and we were just sitting watching, and he started to get closer to me.
When Senior McCaughrean said that he would like Brendan Smyth to have his last Christmas in Kilnacrat Abbey, and it sounded to me to be a very homely thing to happen his last Christmas in the Abbey where he lived with his friends, and that he would be delivered up across the border in January.
What Seamus didn't know was that Smyth had no intention of spending time in the Abbey. Knowing that he was about to go north and face prison for his crimes against children, Smyth wanted sexual gratification just one more time.
He had pinned me to the sofa. I asked him to stop. He didn't answer me. Didn't stop. And one of the kids fell out of the bed and banged off the ceiling, which startled him, and I got up and went upstairs.
But by then he'd already...
Yeah. Yeah. He had already put his hands in places that he shouldn't have put them.
Let him have his Christmas in the Abbey. We would enjoy what we could of Christmas at home and take it on from January. That this would be the door closing. We'd have him up here, and that would be that, hopefully.
And he deserved a Christmas. He got too many Christmases. From 1975, when Cardinal Brady could have done something about him, I think he'd had his fair share of Christmases. He ruined a lot of other people's Christmases. He was left to ruin another.
It didn't occur to Seamus that Smyth was anywhere other than at the Abbey. Until now.
I feel horrified. It's horrible that he abused this young girl, but at the same time, that was his modus operandi, and nobody seemed to understand that this man was a total monster when it came to gratifying or satisfying his sexual urges.
He's not a human being. No way. I saw the devil. Not a human being. He looked through me like I was nothing. He ruined people's lives. There was nothing holy about him. If I thought for 1 second he was alive, I wouldn't be talking to you. Guess come back and get me. I never want to see them eyeballs again.
But she did see them again. Father Smyth returned to the house after Christmas. Her mum had fallen in the snow.
He blessed my mother's pregnant tummy in front of me, knowing that I knew what he was like. I didn't understand how he could give a blessing as a priest, knowing what he was capable of, knowing what he'd just done to me.
Mary wants a criminal investigation into Cardinal Brady's failure to report Smyth to the police, and she wants his resignation.
Cardinal Brady committed an offence, a crime. He diverted the course of justice. He hurt me, he hurt every other victim by protecting Smyth and silencing them victims. He helped Smyth commit his crimes and hurt his victims, including me.
In 1975, Sean Brady risked prosecution in Northern Ireland and the Republic because of laws making it an offence not to report serious crimes to the police. Many see his inaction as part of the ongoing cover-up of Brendan Smyth by the Catholic Church hierarchy, who simply buried information about Smyth, the prolific rapist priest. Father Brendan Smyth has been resurrected by the controversy surrounding Cardinal Brady's statements in March, and more secrets may yet be unearthed. Tonight, we can reveal one of them.
I was abused by Smyth in Drogheda when I was 9. He had a car boot full of sweets to get our attention. Later, he told us during the abuse that this was God's will. I sued Gerald Cusack of Brendan Smyth's Norbertine Order, and Cardinal Sean Brady was named as a defendant. It was settled out of court in 2001 for £15,000.
Declan's revelation raises the question about just how many times the Church and Cardinal Brady have had to pay up for the sins of Father Brendan Smyth. When he was alive, Brendan Smyth thought and behaved like someone who was untouchable. During his last days of freedom, he wrote to Mary, but not to apologise.
He sent me a postcard telling me that he needed some help. He needed my prayers. He needed me to think about him. My mother read it. She said, oh, he must not be very well. And that was just before we saw him on the news.
Mary and her mother saw Smyth walk into court, where he would eventually be sent to jail and would never taste freedom again. These pictures show Smyth in McGilligan prison. It was here that Dr. Ian Bones could study Smyth at close quarters.
In my opinion, Brendan Smyth was a psychopath in terms of his absence of any redeemable features or treatability. He is certainly in the upper end of dangerousness. On a scale of 0 to 10, he would certainly approach the number 10.
There was never any prospect of curing Brendan Smyth. Smyth led the perfect life, raping children with no regrets.
I believe that he would have died content in what he had done over the years, happy with what he had done, and feeling entirely gratified by what he had done.
Even from his grave here at Kilnacrod Abbey, Brendan Smyth can still cause feelings of fear. The word reverend was initially on a headstone at his grave, but Samantha successfully campaigned for its removal. Samantha, along with Seamus and Mary, clearly provide evidence of Smyth's continued assaults after 1975 and right up to 1993. Still to come, the calls for Cardinal Brady to keep his promise.
Well, then I think I would resign.
Sean Brady's revelations in March disclosed in a small way the kind of measures used by bishops to cover up criminal abuses. But it exposed the Cardinal to serious questions about his role. He faced down calls for his resignation, but has been embarrassed by a comment he made last December as bishops criticised in the Murphy report considered how they should respond.
If I found myself in the situation where I was aware that my failure to act had allowed or meant that other children were abused, well, then I think I would resign.
Seamus, Mary and Samantha say the Cardinal's failings in 1975 resulted in Smyth remaining free to carry on abusing, which he did right up until 1993. The Catholic Church policy of concealing rapist priests to protect the good name of the Church has been a complete disaster. And yet, the Church still shies away from public scrutiny. After 7 months of persistent and exhaustive requests for interviews for this programme, the Catholic Church in Dublin, in Armagh and in Boston says no. We first requested interviews by telephone in late May and early June. Silence followed until we re-engaged the Church in August, exchanging emails, some of which they ignored. The Church in Boston didn't even acknowledge our emails or voice messages. Eventually, Cardinal Brady, Archbishop Dermot Martin and Ian Elliott, who heads up the Church's Child Protection Unit, told us they would not do interviews. Justine McCarthy believes Archbishop Dermot Martin has been silenced because he favoured telling the truth and was sympathetic to survivors.
He has fallen out of favour with his fellow bishops in Ireland and with the Vatican. He has stopped talking in public. He's not doing interviews with the media.
Martin's Dark Forces comment has been much quoted. This is not a commentator or a critic or an activist who's saying this. This is an archbishop with years and years of Vatican experience saying that there are dark forces in the church working against honesty in these matters.